75. This tells you that value, 75. How slow are you going? 62. That gives you that value of the card. So I am going to bring in several cards. So we had several cards that we had on the final project, on the final report. So I can bring it in from the side, from the visualization panes. You're not able to see the visualization panes based on how I have the screen set up, but that's okay. It's not that difficult. I'm gonna hit Control C rather than going into the visualization pane again. Hit Control V, as you see now, I can just copy and paste. Remember, this is a Microsoft product, so the shortcuts that you use in Microsoft pretty much are the same shortcuts that you're gonna use, that you use on Microsoft Word or Excel, you know, or PowerPoint. It's pretty much gonna be the same shortcuts you're gonna use using Power BI. We had a slicer. A slicer is pretty much just a visual that it can give you a list. Let's just call it names. It can give you a list of names, or it can give you a drop down so you can select one, and then you can select the name of the drop down, and then what it'll do is it'll change the interactions of all the other filters, all the other visuals to show what that particular individual is. It'll become more clear as we really get into the project, get into the report here. Another visual we had a funnel. We had a funnel. So basically what a funnel allows you to do, it shows who is the greatest, who's the least, or who's the greatest. So basically our funnel that we're gonna create is gonna go greatest to least. Who had the most passing yards, who had the least passing yards. If I Control C and Control V, that'll allow me to create a second funnel, and that second funnel will allow me to say, hey, who had the most touchdowns? Who had the most touchdowns? What quarterback had the most touchdowns from greatest to least? Then we also had a card. We had several card visuals that we brought in to the bottom, and those cards, one was, I think, sack yards. It's going to be negative. There's going to be a negative number in there. And the other one was the number of sacks, the number of sack yards, and the number of interceptions were the negative numbers that we were looking at for a quarterback. And of course, you know, again, if you follow professional football, if you're a fantasy football player or play fantasy football, or you are an online gamer, or better, for the lack of any better term, you understand that you need to know the positives and the negatives, you know, in order to make intelligent decisions on who you pick or who you're going to bet on. Now, again, I'm not encouraging anyone to use my report for online gaming. I'm not encouraging that. I'm just saying, you know, if you want to, you can do whatever you want to do. But I'm not telling you that it is the end all to be all when it comes to online gaming and fantasy sports. I do plan to make one for basketball, but I gotta finish the one for football first, because you can see I just have quarterbacks here, but I do have a table down here, and basically these are well, you can't see, but I have data for quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, overall team, which allows us to pick a defense. So this is pretty much how I've initially got it. I'm initially thinking I can space out the different visuals. Sometimes I'll build out a report like this where I'll create spacing first, and sometimes I just build out one visual at a time. Well, most of the time I'll build out one visual at a time, and then go back and do things. Now I am going to show you a couple of things, because I am not going to. Well, I'll show you here in a minute. Well, I know that the header is going to be the first thing I'm going to do, and this is not the color header that I want. I was trying to match the header as closely as possible to the color of the professional football logo. Now, please note that this is not a logo that I am trying to sell to the professional football organization. It is just something that I'm using for teaching purposes only. So I'm able to make changes to the colors, and what I'm going to eventually do, as you saw in the initial in the initial report before we started moving to the blank screen, was that pretty much all the visuals with the same color. And I like to make the visuals the same color, or at least, have like, maybe 2, no more than 3 colors that I use, unless a customer asks or a client asks me to use several different types of colors. So now here, I'm gonna move to the next page. So the next page I'm showing you, now I have this header that I created. Now I've given it a color and it's here. And basically we know that this header is only just a rectangle box. It's nothing more special than a rectangle box. Then I'm going to come over to header cards. So as I showed you over here in the initial screen, I have 4 cards that I brought up here. And basically these are the cards now. They were all the same. They were all that one color, that gray color at first. I made them a different color. As you can tell, they're spaced out the same distance apart. They're the same size. And basically what I did was I came here and I said, I want to change the size of my cards. Let me see what size this card is that I have. And I'm just coming over to the format screen. Again, it's another screen you're not able to see. So it's a 69 by 134. So I'm going to come back over here and I made these cards 69 by 134 properties. Well, I can only select one. So I got to select one card, format. Oh, I don't have any data in here, so I can't format the card. But that's okay. It's 69 by 134, so it became smaller than what it is. And of course, we can tell that it's smaller because we can see the cards over here. These cards have values in them. So now we know that we can format the cards to the correct size or to the desired size. And here in these cards, we're looking at attempts, completions, yards per attempt, and completion percentage. So again, when we are looking at cards, we want to see a specific value. And as you can tell by the titles, those are the specific values that we're looking for. Now we're going to come over to the next page. And the next page, in addition to the rectangle, in addition to the cards, now we have a gauge. And as I said before, the gauges, the way I have them set up is that we have the least amount. For instance, here in this gauge, we're looking at passing yards. So the least a quarterback pass was a -7, and the most a quarterback pass was 4,624. I know that quarterback that passed 4,624 was Tua Tagovailoa. I don't remember who was a quarterback that passed the -7 yards. Now, one thing to understand is it doesn't necessarily have to be a quarterback that has passing yards. It could have been a jet sweep pass where a receiver came around the backside, running back through the backfield, got a handoff, then threw a pass. But through the pass, they were on the 7-yard line, and it was a pick 6. They went into the end zone. So that's how we get -7 yards. I'm pretty sure, if I had to guess, someone threw a pass and it was either picked off. It was probably picked off and went back the other way, which made the pass a negative yardage as opposed to positive yardage. Now, the call-out value that I spoke about before, this call-out value here, 129,000. This is the total number of passing yards that were passed in the 2023-24 season. Now, eventually we're going to have a slicer over here where we're going to be able to select the quarterback, and then when we select the quarterback, we're going to see that this call-out value is going to actually be the number of yards that particular quarterback passed during the season. This call-out value is going to be the number of touchdowns that quarterback had during the season. And this quarterback rating is going to reflect that particular quarterback during the season. Now I'm going to come over and I'm going to select the table. And as I said before, when I select the table is only pretty much just a spreadsheet. It's just a spreadsheet. Now, what I'm going to do here is I see at 40. I'm going to bring in So as you can tell, all the data that was associated with the quarterback, I can bring all that data in to a table. And typically I normally start out building my report with a table.